Hey everyone, Zach here. Now at the second episode of Voltron Legendary Defender's second season, The Depths. Happening concurrently with the previous episode, we get a look at Hunk and Lance's situation from falling out of the wormhole. They both end up underwater on a distant planet, locate a civilization of mer people, and overall they're quite friendly. The Queen Luxia, I believe is her name, promises to help them recover and get back on their journey. But very soon things aren't as they appear. Even starting out, the first time it's said that everyone here is safe and warm, that already is unsettling to hear. It already gets a cultish or overall sinister vibe to it. So when it's said many more times, you just keep thinking, yes, what is going on here? What is wrong? Because of this conspiracy that's going on, the weirdness of this society, this is actually a bit more of a Lance focused episode. It's not huge on his character development, but kind of adapting to a new situation, working with new allies. There's a small resistance group against whatever the Queen seems to be doing, and he promises to help them, of course, free all the mer people, get Hunk back on his side, and of course get back to their own mission in short order. Again, kind of an interesting mix of serious and fun, like the previous episode's situations. There's, of course, the seediness of what the Queen might be doing to her people, how she's controlling them, how she's manipulating them, and wondering to what ends. But then there's also sort of just the kind of goofy sea creature atmosphere. There's just occasionally, there are many alien looks. Like, creatively, the mer people have a lot of other aquatic features. They're not just human upper halves, fish lower halves. They have several fins. Their faces are sort of amphibian or fish-like. Even some of the guards have kind of walrus faces as different features for their species, I guess. But occasionally there's an octopus, a sea turtle, and so on. The resistance fighters, they have jellyfishes covering most of their heads for most of their screen time in order to try to block the kind of mind control. And as crazy as that sounds, as much of it sounds like a tinfoil hat kind of thing, it actually is a helpful method. It snaps Lance out of it, keeps him thinking clearly. There are some voices that kind of sound like they're through water, even though, of course, they're an aquatic people. Why would they sound like that? So obviously that's just for humor, mainly. Try to spoil things too much for this one, actually, because it's still got an interesting third act. But Lance activates the Blue Lion's new weapon. On the toy, it's, I think, described as an ice beam. Ideally, I guess it would be a more powerful one than the one from its mouth. But in the series, at least, it's sort of a focused sonic cannon, in a way. Maybe it only probably works in air as well. But with this, it makes concentrated vibrations in the water for combat purposes. So that was cool to see. Not a whole lot else. This is a bit of a simpler one. I overall liked these opening episodes to the season, but I'm kind of wondering if they should have been organized a little bit better. Like with Across the Universe, we had 3 situations going back to Allura and Karan, Shiro and Keith, and Pidge. With this one, we had 1 situation, Hunk and Lance. So, ideally, maybe it would have been better to split up more evenly. 2 situations, and then 2 other situations. And again, I don't know if it feels like it's paced a little bit better watching them back to back, binging the season. That's not the approach I'm taking. Additionally, not to describe it too much, but of course at the end there is kind of suddenly a way that Pidge can locate them. So I'm kind of wondering if it was like, well, we're getting close to the end. They gotta be rescued. They gotta be rescued on screen. We can't just imply it or start the next episode with them being found. But then again, I guess it is a little bit of a backstory thing in that it seems to detail that these mer people were perhaps a little bit more active with interstellar visitors and the recent happenings of this conspiracy thing perhaps isolated them, simplified them. So whether or not they're revisited further along in the series, it was an interesting environment, an interesting situation to find our characters in. Looks like coming up it will mostly be recovery efforts once again, and getting back to their spacefaring missions, continuing their fight against the Gara. So I'll see you then. Onward to episode 14.